All right, welcome back. In our previous video, we got our hotbar working, and we set things up so that when we pick up items, that's interesting. I'm not picking up any items, but they're. I think we got a problem with some of our code here. If I'm pointing at the item when it's not visible, I can still pick it up. I just realized that. So we have a little we have a little error in our code. We'll fix that. I just discovered it. We'll have to fix that in this video. It should only take a second. We have to make sure that we can't pick up items once they go invisible. Apparently we can. So anyway, in this video, aside from fixing this little bug I just found, what we're going to do is drop items. So there's two different concepts in a game when it comes to items. Some items are placeable, which means they get placed in the game and they remain in the game. That's going to be down the road a little further before we start placing items, because those will probably be things that we craft. And we're definitely going to do crafting in this. But things like an apple, when we drop it, right now it's placed in the game because it's part of the game. When we pick it up, it's just a record in our system. When we drop it, it would be something that another player could pick up, but it wouldn't be placed in the game. And so we want a different representation for something that's dropped versus something that's placed. And a real typical way to do that is to have it kind of a floaty thing, right? Maybe with an icon on it, or just floating above the ground, bobbing a little bit. Another player can come by and pick it up. That may be a way you transfer items to another player. So we already have this ability to select items with our number key. All right, we can go along here and select a slot. And I'm thinking something like maybe the Q key would be good. When we select an item, each time you tap the Q key, it would drop an item. And so that's what we're going to work on in this video is dropping items and having them be a little floaty thing. So to do that, let's go down here first of all. Well, first of all, let's go fix this problem with this blueprint. Is it the blueprint or the pickup? This is our Apple blueprint, and the Apple blueprint has the apple in it. This is the pickup. This is the thing that can be picked up, right? That's the static mesh. I can't remember if there's any code in this. I don't think there really is. Is there? Construction script. Parent construction script. Oh, that's right. We have this items, item base, and respawnable item. So respawnable item is also inheriting item base, right? Class settings. I'm trying to remember here. Item base. Yeah. So, but respawnable item is the one that remains here. A regular item, if it wasn't respawnable, would simply be gone. When we set visibility, what we need to do is create another variable here. This is going to be very simple. We're going to call this variable available. Yes, we'll call it available, and we'll set its default value to true. When it's placed, we're also going to set this like this. And when we set it to hidden, how are we setting it to hidden? That's the respawn script. Event graph. Set visibility of the static mesh. We're setting it true there. If it's false, we're setting it to true. Huh? That's on event tick. Oh, that's how we set it to true after the timeout. That's right. So I'm trying to remember. It's been a while. Item collected. I think this is the one that we want. Set visibility to false. And what we want to do at the same time here is set available also to false. We're going to use this to pick this up. I guess we could just use visibility. Yeah, let's do that. Sorry, I'm moving some things around here on my desk. Let me get rid of that. Let's delete this variable. We don't need this. Let's hook this back up. Visibility, compile and save. So I think what we need to do is go in here to our character, blueprints, player character base, and there is the pickup, item pickup. Once we get the item, and before we do this add item and actually take it, we're calling item collected here on that item. That's what makes it disappear, and that's fine. Before we go and add an item to our inventory, what we want to do is take that item, and I suppose we can grab it from as item base, get is visible. So, oh, that's right, that's from the static mesh. So we want to get that static mesh is visible. We want to have a branch here. What? We want to have a branch here. And if it's true that it's visible, then we're going to add the item and do the rest of this stuff. We've got the item description. Let's pull this up here. Let's pull this up here. Try to make this a little neater. Plug this into here. And make sure, yep, that's hooked up. So now, basically what's going to happen is, if the item is visible, we'll go ahead and add it to our inventory, call item collected, and update the hotbar. Otherwise, if it's false, we're going to do nothing, because it's not really there. We detected it here because it is there. All we're doing is setting it to invisible for our respawnable item. Now, if we go back to here, we should not be able to pick those items up like we were. So if I point right at this one and hit this E multiple times, you notice, the one is not increasing. So there we go. Oops, my keyboard is acting a little cockeyed here. All right. So hitting the key multiple times, it no longer increments that up like it was doing. Okay, so that's fixed. So that's good. Good to catch a bug like that. So now we want to be able to have a floaty item. So let's go here to items. And these are actual like items. Items up here is where we put kind of base stuff. So we want to have a different kind of blueprint here. And so we'll create a blueprint class, and we'll make it an actor class, and we're going to call this dropped item. All right. And we're going to base it on item base so that it has all those things we put into item base. So we'll go here to class settings and we'll pull this down. And I could have done this when I created it, but item base BP. So this dropped item is going to be based on item base BP. So there it's got a static mesh and it's got I guess that's all we really set up for this, right? So let's go back to class settings, item base. Okay, good. So we've got that. Let's compile and save. Let's go to our, let's go to our event graph and think about this. What we want to do is have, yeah, we can grab a hold of that. So let's create a little animation for this when it's dropped, and then we'll figure out how we're gonna kind of drop it into the scene. On event begin play, or is it going to be tick? I think it's going to be tick. So what we want here is a timeline, first of all. So, well, is it going to play every tick? It's going to play, well, we're going to have a way to, well, I think we can restart this. Actually, I think we can do this on begin play. Let's do it on begin play. When it's finished, we can call an event. We'll have a custom event. We'll add a custom event that we'll call restart. We'll plug that restart into play from start. And when finished, we'll call restart. There we go. So we explain this. What's going to happen is on event begin play, in other words, when we create this object and drop it into the scene, begin play is going to play this timeline. Okay, this timeline is going to do some animation of this thing. Actually, it's going to make it kind of bob up and down, and above the ground. It's going to be placed on the ground, but it's going to lift up above the ground. It's going to bob up and down like a thing that's temporarily there. When that animation we do finishes, which will be up and then down, finishes, it's going to come back, call this, which is going to play it from the start again, and it'll bob up and down again. So it's just one kickoff, and once it's gone and destroyed, then it won't be doing it anymore. So let's open up this timeline, and what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we want to do is we just need a single float track, and I think, up, down, maybe 2 seconds. So let's set the length of this thing to 2 seconds. I did not want to, whatever I did there, I did not want to do it. Let's set this thing to 2 seconds. And then let's add a keyframe. And out here at 2 seconds, we'll add a keyframe. And we'll adjust these by their numbers here. Let's select this one. Make sure the time point is at 0. And the value is 0, which it is. And for this keyframe out here, make sure that the value here is 2 exactly. And the value here is going to be, again, 0, because we want it to come back down to 0. And let's go here to 1 second, add a keyframe right in the middle, and we'll set this time to exactly 1, and we'll set the value to 1. And then we'll I think there was a button here to fit it. Oh, that's right. It's here. I'm going to fit this to the track. So this is going to timeline's going to spend 1 second going up to 1, and then coming back down to 0, 0 to 1. Okay. So what are we going to do with that? We're going to use it to control. Let's go back to that track, and let's give it a name other than new track, so that we can follow it here. New track. Rename new track to item height. This makes a little bit more sense. Graph. So now we have this value coming out of here, item height. What do we want to do? Well, we want to grab this static mesh, and we want to get its we want to add a local offset. We're going to update this. Now, 1 is only 1 centimeter in this, so we're probably going to have to multiply it, but I'm going to split this struct pin, and back to the event graph. Probably going to have to multiply this item height. Let's multiply it. Let's go float times float. Let's multiply it by 10. That's about 10 centimeters. And let's plug this into the Z. So that should move this up and down about 10 centimeters, going up to 1, 10, back down to 0. And actually, that should do exactly what we want it to do. Now, what we need, however, over here, we have an item, the apple, class settings. That's a respawnable item, right? What we want is a new blueprint class. We're going to call it, we're going to base it off of the one we just created, which is a dropped item. And we're going to call it a dropped. Okay. Let's rename that. I'm going to call it a dropped apple BP. And just like the apple, we're going to have to set up this static mesh. So we can go back to here. We can go grab our static apple mesh. Go here. Static mesh. Is that like a really big apple? What did I do? Scale it down before or something? Let's take a look at that apple BP. What did I do? 0.1, 0.1, 0.1 I did, because I made a really big apple in Blender. So let's do that. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Okay. Oh, they're locked, so it set them all. All right. So there's our apple. We need our, we've got our apple mesh. We need our material. Apple material. There's our apple material. And actually what we need to do is we need to add another component to this. We need to add a scene component to this. We need to move it to the root. Oh, we can't because we based this off of the other one. Okay. So yeah, that means it can't be treated directly as an item if we do that. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to go refactor our main item here. Item base BP. So this was created for casting purposes, and we put the static mesh in here so that everything's related to it. I'm going to go ahead and add a scene component to this. And then I'm going to drag it up to here and leave that static mesh underneath that scene. Compile that, save that. Now when we go back to our dropped apple BP, we'll see we've got this scene component. When we select this, we can actually move it up a little bit. And I want it a little bit above that scene's 0, 0 position, so that when we place it on the ground, it's a little bit above the ground and it'll bob up and down. Compile, save. And we already have that happening in dropped apple is based on, oh, that's right, dropped item does this. So let's test it all by itself first before we worry about dropping it. I'm going to save all, save selected. Let's place one of these apples as our items. Oh, yeah, dropped apple BP. Let's put it in the scene, and it does in fact hang out a little bit above the ground. You see that? And so let's play, and let's go over and take a look at it and see what it's doing. Where's all my apples? What happened? Okay. Why is that gone? Oh. What? That's weird. And all the other apples I had placed in this scene have disappeared. Oh, they're super tiny. Why are all of the apples... What? What? Oh. And this thing's giant. What did I change? I changed something wrong? What did I do? Dropped apple BP. I put this scene component in. Apple BP. This is now set. It got really tiny. Okay. Those are now back to normal size, and that apple is giant. So let's go back to dropped apple. Scene component. Let's go to apple BP. What's the scene component set to? It's 111. Static mesh. This is all set to 111. Why is this scaled? Because it carried over. You know, I don't know how or why it did that. That's very weird. Dropped Apple BP. We need to set this to 0.1. No. It's the Apple. We need to... What? Where'd my Apple go? There it is. 0.1. That looks better. Compile. Save. Let's go back to here. Let's take this and move it over here. And it apparently flew away. What did I do wrong? Dropped item. Add local offset. Nah, I didn't want to add local offset. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to get this static mesh. Position. Add local offset. I really want add relative location. Set relative location. Set relative location is what I want. And that's what I want to split this and do that to Z and plug this into here. Let's try it now. Well, it looks like it's still there. And it is kind of bobbing up and down a little bit, but it's bobbing up and down wrong. So actually, what I want to do, I see now. Dropped item BP. First of all, I want to take this offset I added in here and zero that out. I'm going to want to do that. Go here to the right, we don't want to do that. Dropped item here. We want to multiply this and we want to add something to it. So let's take this and go plus float plus float. Let's add about 5 centimeters to that and plug it in here. And let's multiply it by 20. It's not moving very much. Let's go check it out now. Save all. Save selected. Let's go look at it. What's it doing? Okay. Our dropped item's sort of bobbing up and down. I think I want it a little higher than that, actually. Let's add more. Dropped item. Let's add 20. And let's change this. Set relative location and rotation. So let's get rid of this. but not the scene. We want it for the static mesh as the target. Location, split struck pin, that. And rotation, split struck pin. It's yaw we want to adjust, so actually we need to go into our timeline, and let's add another timeline, and let's have it for the same 2 seconds, which it is. Let's put let's add a key there and add a key over here. Start with this one. Again, we will set this to 0 on the time, and we'll set this to 180. Or no, we'll leave that at 0. And we'll go back to this one. We'll make sure this is exactly 2, and we'll set that to 0 also. We'll go here in the middle. We'll add a key, and we'll set this to maybe 90. And then we'll come over here and do a fit. Okay, so, well, that makes that curve look really small. So if we do a fit, it's got to adjust them all, I guess. Okay, well, that's fine. That middle one we set to 90, right? Oh, it's way up there, so we got to do this. Yeah, okay. Compile and save. Let's go back to our event graph. Let's go back to here and rename this. Rename this to yaw. We just want it to rotate a little bit. That's what we're doing here. Just going to make it rotate a little bit as it's bobbing up and down. So we go back to our event graph and we take this yaw, and I think if we plug this into yaw, compile, save all, save selected, hit play. So what do we have going on? Did I not hook everything up? Probably not. Dropped item. That's going into new Z location. Oh, yeah, I didn't hook it up. All right. Now it's kind of, yeah, see, it's bobbing up and down and rotating a little bit. I think it's still not really high enough. Let's go back to dropped item, and let's add 40 to this. That's a little bit better, and E can take it, but I think it's not a respawnable item, right? So it's gone. It's not going to reappear. But there's one other thing I want to do with these dropped items, and that is I want to give them a lifetime. So that started that. And our little trick here, I never thought about that before. I kind of thought of that on the fly, coming off the finished and restarting it. So you just kick it off once and it just runs over and over again. Maybe that's a common thing. I don't know. What we do want to do, however, is keep track of how long it's been alive. And so we're going to create a variable here, and we're going to call it lifetime. And we're going to set it to a float. and we'll compile, and we'll set this to now for maybe 10 seconds. For a real item, we'll probably give it a longer lifetime than that, maybe 5 minutes or something. We'll give it 10 seconds for now. So and we'll make this blueprint editable so that it can be set. Time. We'll create time. So what we'll do is, as soon as this thing comes alive and it starts ticking, what we're going to do is set the time to the value of whatever the time is. We'll get the time, and we'll take the delta seconds and we'll add it to the time. Okay, and then we'll do a branch, and we're going to ask if time is greater than lifetime. If this is true, we're going to not session. Going to destroy actor self. So it's going to die. It's going to disappear after 10 seconds in this case. And we can set that higher, have it be able to float around for maybe 5 minutes. And another thing we could possibly do with this is add a little glow effect or something to it, so that it looks like kind of an ethereal thing floating there. But for now, I think this is okay. Let's save all. I'm going to have to get over there pretty quick before it disappears. I'm going to let it disappear this time. I'm just going to watch it. And it disappeared. Let's see if we can pick it up before it disappears. And we can. And we've got... but you know what I didn't do when I created my item? So here, items, dropped Apple BP. We need to open this up, and in there's the static mesh. That isn't there. Class settings is dropped item. Oh. Item description. This is what we needed. We're going to call this a dropped apple. It's food. This is what we needed here. Apple, healthy apple icon. It's droppable. Weight is 0 right now. Item blueprint. Item blueprint is Apple BP. Is there anything else we need? Time. Lifetime. Oh, lifetime and time is the defaults we added. Alright, compile, save. Let's make sure it goes into our inventory now. Save all, save selected. Let's go grab it. And it went into our inventory. So now we have a droppable item. All right, so this video has gone a little bit long. In the next video, we're going to set it up so we can drop items from our inventory, and we'll give them a little bit longer lifetime, and they'll drop on the ground, and and when we get to the multiplayer kind of thing, another player can pick it up. So you can give something to another player very simply just by dropping it, and they can pick it up. Or if you're tired of carrying something around, you can drop it and it will despawn after some period of time. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get notifications when I upload videos, hit that notify button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.